Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan, also known as the Medieval Genie, and today we're going to be talking about this, which is a SPES Hussar jacket. I'll review the trousers at a separate time. But I did some initial impressions in a previous video, and I talked about its features and things. I'll go over those again, but I'll also have more experience and I'll be able to tell you about how it actually went being used, rather than just what I thought it was like. So basically this is an 800 Newton rated jacket specifically designed for historical European martial arts. It is by a company called SPES, there's a little label on here, and that basically, I think it's a Polish company or Hungarian. I keep getting mixed up because there are a lot of things that we order for martial arts which seem to come from Eastern Europe, so it could very well be Bulgaria at this rate. But regardless, with this jacket, like I said, it's 800 Newton rated, so that makes it suitable for good puncture resistance, including tournament levels, because depending what sorts of tournaments and things you're doing, sometimes they might say, just do whatever. Sometimes they might say, you need at least a 350 Newton rated jacket, or they might say you need an 800 Newton rated jacket. In the most latter case, only one of these sorts of things will do, something with a high rating. I've not heard of jackets that go any further, but it's certainly very protective. It has foam inserts which you can get in different places, so you can get some in the shoulders, you can get them around the front of the torso, you can get them in the back. You also get some that sort of act as side plates for the kidney area, so depending on if you find, in general, I get hit in this particular spot a lot, you can sort of chop and change it a bit. So say, you're not getting hit much in the shoulders, take out some of the padding there, and then you have padding, say, around the around the kidney area, because you get whacked underneath your guard if you, let's say, prefer the Vomtag guard a lot with a longsword. So that is quite helpful, and it means that beyond the basic level of protection it offers, which is pretty good anyway, on top of that you can have further protection, and it already comes with the plates fitted. You don't need to buy them separately, and they'll give you that extra bit of protection on your most vulnerable spots. I personally removed pretty much all of it. I might maybe put the shoulder bits back in, might do the kidneys in some cases, but I prefer low guards with, most weapons, so apart from saber. But so I don't get hit in the kidneys quite as much these days. But apart from that, one of the things that should be mentioned is that you also have these. Now you'll hear you've got just general padding and pillowing, which goes on in most of the jacket, but you additionally, on the forearms, have these, which are they're plastic plates, and I have found that extremely useful, apart from the fact that arms are generally quite vulnerable, because it goes, your most fragile parts are sort of, your face, around your eyes and whatnot, and then after that you'd have your hands, maybe after that your forearms, and then maybe after that some various other places. It just, it tends to be not much vulnerability after that, apart from maybe the shins, that's it. And then the rest is fairly optional, although if you're a man, groin protection is very strongly recommended. But point being, with these sorts of things, I was in a tournament once, and I think the guy's name was Zoltan? I was doing sabre, and he was using a Polish sabre and its relevant style, against me using a British military sabre and its relevant style. So I was preferring things like outside guard, inside guard, hanging, all those half hangers, and he was pretty much, rather than doing kind of blade extended out and then cuts from the wrist, the sort of thing I talked about in my last video, he was preferring more kind of your forearm cuts, so he had a lot more power and heft into it, so I had to put up a strong defence. But it meant that on one case, he did catch me very strongly on the forearm, and you could hear, and there was that kind of, movement, the push, from the sheer force of blow, that I knew that although I kind of felt, some of that, there was that whack, and I think, a little sting from it, I mean, case in point, I've just whacked my arm with other jackets and things without having, I mean, this is without extra forearm protection. You know, I can feel a sting a bit now, but it'll be healed up in 5 minutes flat. So for when you're getting really whacked, yes, I mean, maybe with people who absolutely wallop you with longswords and things, you know, trying to go hefty and then hitting you with full might, you might want to get extra forearm protection. But these plastic plates, on top of the protection you get already, is a godsend. It's wonderful stuff. And you also get these adjustable bits of Velcro around the cuffs. So it means that you can get it tighter, especially if you want to fit the cuff of the glove over. You also make it looser if, for example, especially to fit your hand in and out. And just simple features like that make a world of difference. So, you know, it doesn't clash with other types of kit. And then you see these elbow guards, and I'm wearing them in this video, not out of some sort of, this is what I usually wear for kit. These actually come as standard. So you get some like the Axel Pettersson jacket, the sort of a lighter 350 Newton SPES jacket, which is, you know, you can buy forearm, well, you can get things for forearms, you can also buy elbow pads and things separately. But these actually came with some included, which is nice, and they certainly do fit them nicely. Sometimes I have to sort of adjust them a little bit, maybe, speaking of which, tighten them up, but for the most part it's not too bad, and I've just made it less tight. But besides that, with the general protection, like I said, I've actually taken a lot of the plates out, which speaks to how much it does protect, because, you know, I'm not thinking to myself, ow, I need more than this to guard me. You know, I'm actually reducing the amount of protection it's got as standard, so that's a good sign. And in terms of the movement of flexibility, I mean, the garment does, as you can see, it does lift ever so slightly if I raise into a high guard, but I've got the collar completely fastened, which is zip right up to the top, and the Velcro bit, which you get here, which is for this bit, which is a blade catcher. Have a look. Which is there to stop me from getting stabbed, which is something I like, not dying. But even with all of this tightened up, you know, it's not choking me. I can lift, and you're not hearing me strained as I talk now, so you can tell that it's not actually, you know, choking me, and it's not doing anything too much to harm me. So it's certainly good for the fit. Obviously, it's going to vary a bit between different people, and I'm currently wearing a medium-sized jacket, because I'm a medium. Most of my garments I wear a medium. The arms aren't too long. You know, it doesn't kind of. I know sometimes with garments it tries to kind of pull back on the forearms a bit. I mean, I'm doing this manually, but you know, when I'm extending out, it doesn't do that. So that's good. Some garments and other bits of protection, sort of, as I extend out, let's say for a thrust, it pulls back and it reduces the protection. So if I'm hit on the wrist, I've only got the cuff of my glove, and that's going to hurt. So it's good to see that that also isn't a problem compared to other bits of protection. It's quite puffy on the upper arms. I find this doesn't hinder my movements, so let me get my sword. So let's say I'm going into the Guard of the Lady from Fiore, so I do this one hand or two hands. Yes, there is restriction, but that's just a given with Gambesons. But for saying that, it's hardly anything at all, and I don't really notice the difference. Only at first, when I first got sort of jackets, you know, I kind of need to wear it in, and I did actually just wear this to work, you know, my laundrette place, as a sort of a winter coat for, you know, pretending it was, which was just to wear it in and get it sort of, you know, bedded in properly, and then after that, fine. I could move perfectly well. I can do all of the guards, I can do any kind of attacks and defences that I wish, and I don't really feel impeded at all. And that's including, you know, arms back, arms forward and across, lifting further like I showed earlier, whatever I want. And one of the things that helps with that, and I talked about this on my good versus bad Gambesons video, the arm isn't, like on some designs, isn't naturally straight on the garment, hence meaning that if you try to, you know, if I try to do, let's say, a cut from my shoulder and I'm tucking my forearm up like that a lot, you can see it has restricted my movement a bit, but I don't really need to do anything too tight. There's nothing realistic I want to do with that. But with other garments where the arm starts out straight, I'd find myself getting kind of, you know, trying to go past a 90-degree angle, and I'm having to strain and resist against my own garment, which is bad because I don't want to be fighting my own armour. I've got an opponent to fight already. So it's, like I said, that's also good. And having that naturally kinked elbow there, I mean, its default position is around here. That means that I can straighten my arm. I mean, there's very little movement to straighten it unless I'm going to get it broken, which is a different kind of issue. But yet, going back where the arm naturally bends, I've got plenty of movement, so that's wonderful for fighting. Like I said, I hardly feel impeded at all. Additionally, it's got a double zip system. Now, you could call me a bit naughty because I only really use one. So, I've got this, which is the outer zip. We've also got an inner zip here, so that adds extra security. If the zip got damaged, of course, I could then use the other zip and then just maybe do up the Velcro, because this does attach at the top using Velcro. Job's a good one. But additionally, with that outside belt and having both done up at once, if a rogue thrust happened, let's say a sword broke, which does happen with fetish vets sometimes, it's not going to penetrate through the zip and then the other layer and then into me and hurt me. This is just going to, at most one zip will give way, which is also helped with this overlapping system, because the zip is not right at the very edge so that it's vulnerable and exposed. There's this flap of the material helped by the Velcro as well. You'll notice here it'll be more open, I could get thrust at. Tightened here, even the zip itself isn't too vulnerable, so there are so many layers that have to get through before it could penetrate through the fastenings and get me. I don't think realistically it would ever cause any problems. If the garment gets damaged, then fair enough. But while it's intact, I don't think any one particular thrust is going to do me in, unless it was with a sharp weapon like a spear. But in that case, why are you fighting with those? Don't fight with sharps, kids. So what else? I've had some bits like my mail armour, which fits well enough over the top. The breathability is quite good. I mean, I'm indoors, I've got central heating and whatnot, so it's around in the early 20s of degrees Celsius, and I've been walking around, moving, doing this, wearing this like a thick, winter coat, and I'm not sort of working up a massive sweat. I'm not sort of, boiling inside. And I've done some fighting, and like with all Gambesons, I do get a bit hot and sweaty, and I might just undo the zip and let it breathe out and let the steam escape for a bit, and then get back into the fight. But I've not known any Gambesons that aren't like that. So as far as breathability goes and temperature control, this is certainly on the best end that you get, realistically. So that's good. And apart from that, nothing else. Yeah, so I can't remember its price point. I'll put it up on screen now. So at its price, I figured it was quite good. I remember that, like I said, with the extra protection, I've received many hits which would normally do me in with a lighter jacket, and that's not happening with this jacket. So even, like I said, with the default level of protection without the plates in, it's still already protecting me noticeably better than with my previous Axel Pedersen jacket. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. I mean, what can I complain about? It moves wonderfully, it fits me perfectly, it takes attachments and combines other gear perfectly, it doesn't feel too heavy, it doesn't restrict my movement, it's not too bulky. I can't really see anything bad about it. By all means, there may well be jackets that are better, and they might well have, say, better breathability and temperature control, or might have even more features that protect, but as far as HEMA jackets go, this is wonderful. Honestly, haven't even seen anything better. So yeah, that's my thought on that. By all means, comment about the sorts of jackets and things you've got and your experiences with them in the comments below. I shall see you in the next video, and ta-ra for now.